Hello and welcome, and if you're new here, my name is Alexis. I'm a trans woman sharing my life and stories on social media, and there is a lot going around on socials at the minute about misgendering, people getting misgendered and screaming and shouting, and I want to talk about it today as it's something that I've experienced a lot on my transition, and even now I still do get misgendered. At the end of this video, I am going to take my makeup off, I'm going to take my hair extensions out, and just to give you an idea of why I get misgendered and talk about a little story later on that happened recently where someone misgendered me. And it's a bit of a funny story, but I'll talk about that a little bit later on. There is a clear difference for me when someone misgenders me by accident or they just don't know, or where someone purposely goes out of their way to call me a man. There is a very clear difference. So for instance, today I was with my mum and we were talking, blah, blah, blah. There was someone else nearby and then she referred to me and said, he. Of course, for 27 years of my life, my mum knew me as he. I was a boy, I was her little boy, and that's what she's learned. So to unlearn that behaviour and those terminologies and retrain her brain, I understand it's going to take time. It'll probably take a really long time. But the fact is, she's trying, and that's all we can ask from people. If someone is trying to learn your pronouns or what you feel comfortable being called, we can't hold them accountable if they slip up and say the wrong pronoun. It's an accident and it's okay. I just get a little bit frustrated when I see viral videos of people screaming when they get misgendered or getting really angry and shouting at someone, because that's not going to help the person understand who you are and why you feel that way about yourself, why you identify that way about yourself. That's just going to make them defensive and want to argue back. And it's not going to be a way for us to move forward, I guess I'm trying to say. Sorry if this is coming off a little preachy. I just want to talk about this topic because it's a very difficult, layered subject. I'll give you some for instances. So if I'm out in public looking like this and someone says, "You are a man," that is purposeful misgendering, and that's cruel, and that's just harassment, it's bullying, or whatever you want to call it. It's just nasty and it's not needed. I'm not affecting their life, they're not affecting mine. I don't understand why that happens. However, if I go out into the world looking no makeup, hoodie, no chest area, looking more androgynous, and someone assumes that I'm a man, that's okay, because I was born a man and I still have masculine features, and I've talked about them before: my height, my jawline, my large Adam's apple, my big hands, all these things and whatnot. If I'm not purposely presenting feminine that day because I just couldn't be bothered, and someone says he or thank you sir when I'm in a shop, yes, it makes my heart sink a little bit and it does hurt. However, I'm not going to stand there and embarrass them and correct them because they don't know. And a lot of people, if they knew you were trans, they would use the correct terminology. One thing I found really interesting was when I read an article recently, the human brain decides someone's gender within 0.06 seconds. So literally less than a second of looking at someone, we decide their gender and age in our brain. It's automatic. We don't choose to do it. Our brain automatically does it. Right, let me go and take off my makeup and take my hair out, and I'm going to tell you a funny story, well, I think it's funny, about me getting misgendered recently. That's also another thing. I try and make light of these situations and make them funny, because if I take every misgendering really to heart, I'd be very sad all the time. Anyway, let me take this off and we'll talk. Okay, I'm back. Pimples and all, the makeup's gone. I want to tell you a little story about the other day. We had our boiler service. Sounds random, but it'll make sense in a minute. So we had our boiler service, an annual service, all that sort of thing. And we had two men come over to the house, boiler men, obviously. I had on a hoodie and joggers. I was not trying to present femininely at all. And the first guy comes into the house and he's like, "Good morning, love, how are you?" Very much nodding towards that he saw me as a female, which was lovely. It made me feel really good. The second guy walks in a minute later and goes, "You all right, mate? How are you doing?" And it was, the tone change was like that. And obviously I knew he was gendering me as male. And initially it did upset me, but he wasn't doing it on purpose. He wasn't doing it out of malice. It was just an accident. And in hindsight, the situation was kind of funny because throughout the day I was up and downstairs working in the office and here, there and everywhere. And when I could hear them talking to Liam, my fiance, one of them would say, oh, is your missus said this is okay? Or something like that. And then the other one would be like, oh, did he say this is okay? And they both kept using different pronouns. And I just thought, what must they be thinking with each other? Because they couldn't figure out what my gender was. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in their van when they left, trying to figure out what my gender was. And I'm laughing about it because it is a bit of a funny situation. And the reason I didn't approach the boiler guy who misgendered me as a man was because I didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable. He was in my house doing some work and I didn't want to make him feel embarrassed that what he'd done, because it didn't affect me that much. It upset me for a moment and then I found it kind of funny after. What I'm trying to learn and teach myself and retrain my brain, I guess, is that we shouldn't put all of our value and our own self-worth in what other people think and say about us, because that will bring us down. I'm speaking to myself here, by the way. That would bring me down very, very quickly. Whether that be my gender identity, so I identify as a female, whether that be your age, your height, your weight, the income that you have and the money, the kind of house that you live in, it doesn't really matter, any of those things. When we really care about what other people think, and I know it's easier said than done, but when we really care, that changes our own perception of ourselves. So every time I got called sir and man, and when I get negative comments online telling me that I'll never be a woman, I'll always be a man and blah, 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 if I absorbed all those and took them in, I would believe that. So it's trying to put up a wall in my brain to say, no, this is what I think about myself, this is how I feel about myself, and all the other stuff, then it's just noise. If that makes sense. Sorry for the rant. But yeah, that's me with no makeup on, and I wanted to explain the story about the two men where one thought I was a woman and one thought I was a man. It was just a very funny situation. I know I've gone round the houses to get here. I get a lot of messages from parents of trans children or non-binary children, and I just want to sort of remove the stigma from misgendering when it is by accident, because that is what it is. It's by accident, and yes, it might hurt, but if you're trying, then that is good enough. That really is above and beyond. That's why when my mum misgenders me probably nearly every time I see her by accident, only once, the rest of the time it's she, her, Alexis, and then once she might say my old name or he, and it's fine, because I know how hard she is trying to erase all of the ideology and terminology from her brain, from all the years she's known me since she gave birth to me, to replace it with new terminology. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying, that's amazing and I commend you and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much for listening. I'm sorry if I went up and down and around to talk about this topic. It's a very difficult topic to talk around. And if you have any questions, please comment them below and I can always make more videos on this. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.